Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Ibo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Ibo. Jaya Radha Kala Chanji, Radha Kala Chanji, Radha Kala Chanji, Shri Radhe Jaya Radha. Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Shri Radhe Jaya Radha. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Jagannatha. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jai Gurudev. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnu विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद् अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। श्री गौड़ीय वैष्णव गुरु परंपरा की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन धाम की जय। व्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री कालाचंद जी धाम की जय। गंगमय यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। कलियुग पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam ततो जाया मुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतिरुत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवत पुराण की जय। श्री चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद। जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद। जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। So reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 9, verse number 195 this morning. Since the verse is, oh, it's connected? Okay, wonderful. Kindly repeat after me. विश्वास करह तुमी आमार वचने पुनरपि कुभावना ना करिह मने। विश्वास करह तुमी आमार वचने पुनरपि कुभावना ना करिह मने। विश्वास करह तुमी आमार वचने पुनरपि कुभावना ना करिह मने। Want to repeat, Prabhuji? विश्वास करह तुमी आमार वचने, पुनरपि कुभावना ना करिहा मने। विश्वास करह तुम्ही आम्हार वचने, पुनरपि कुभावना ना करिहा मने। विश्वास करह तुम्ही आम्हार वचने, पुनरपि कुभावना ना करिहा मने। मदस विश्वास करह तुम्ही आम्हार वचने, पुनरपि कुभावना ना करिहा मने। विश्वास करह तुम्ही आम्हार वचने, पुनरपि कुभावना ना करिहा मने. Thank you. So word to word translation and transliteration and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. So word to word. Vishwasa karaha, believe. Tumi, you. Amara, my. Vachane, in the words. Punarapi, again. Kubhavana, misconception. Na kariha, do not do. Mane, in the mind. Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then assured the Brahmana, have faith in my words and do not burden your mind any longer with this misconception. Purport by His Divine Grace. This is the process of spiritual understanding. Achintya khalu ye bhava na tams tarkena yojayet. We should not try to understand things beyond our material conception by argument and counter-argument. Mahajano yena gathastapanta. We have to follow in the footsteps of great authorities coming down in the parampara system. If we approach a bona fide acharya and keep faith in his words, spiritual realization will be easy. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakavalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhavitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha panchatattvamakam krishnam bhaktarupa swarupakam bhaktavataram bhaktakyam namami bhaktashaktikam. He Krishna karuna sindho dinabandho jagatpate gopesha gopika kanta radha kanta namostute. तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, once in his class in Munger, he was giving in Chaitanya Charitamrita. In his lecture, he said, even if at the time of devastation, Mahapralaya, and you are left only with the scriptures, Gita, Bhagavad, and CC, that's the only, we have wealth. And if there is a time that Bhagavad Gita drowns, you still have Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita with you. Still, you have the power to rejuvenate the entire world with Krishna consciousness. And taking a pause, he mentioned, even if the devastation comes to a level where even Srimad Bhagavatam is drowned, only Chaitanya Charitamrita has the power to revive the entire philosophy. So, my dear devotees, we are attempting to speak upon such an exalted subject matter, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and I feel myself as the least, qualified person in this holy assembly. So I sincerely seek blessings unto your lotus feet, to seek divine blessings of Sri Sri Radha Kalachan Ji and His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, and all the senior Vaishnavas in this assembly. I sincerely beg at your lotus feet to bless me, so that I can speak something worthwhile for my own purification and for the pleasure of all Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna. So, this is a very wonderful verse today. Very simple but sublime message. Vishwasa karaha tumi amhara vachane punarapi ku bhavana na kariha mane. If we wish to slightly get into this, background of this verse, amazing. We are discussing in Madhya Leela chapter 9, where Lord Chaitanya is traveling to all the places, holy places of South India. So in the previous chapter, we saw how leaving Vidyanagar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited all the places of pilgrimage, many. Gautami Ganga, Ahovil Narsimha, Tirupati, Tirumala, Pana Narsimha, some of us have been there, Shivakanchi, Rameshwaram. And then, while doing this, Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentions in the beginning of this wonderful chapter, Nana Mata Graha Krastan Dakshinatya Janadvipan Kriparina Vimuchetan Gauras Chakre Sa Vaishnavan. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami begins with a wonderful analogy that just like Lord Vishnu delivered Gajendra from a crocodile, similarly Lord Chaitanya converted these elephant-like strong inhabitants of South India from the clutches of a crocodile, which means like different philosophies like Buddhism, Jainism and Mayavad, in this extraordinary Ati Vilakshan tour. So, this is a wonderful South India tour, and Mahaprabhu goes place and place and simply inundating, Harinam across the masses. And all these, not only these, other philosophers like Buddhist, Jainist and Mayavadis, they became devotees, but also within the Vaishnava paradigm, the Sri Vaishnavas and other Vaishnavas, they also started chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We just saw in the previous episodes how he also transformed Sri Venkata Bhatta, the father of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, in Sri Rangam. And now he is transitioning to Madurai, a beautiful city which is known for beautiful, magnificent temple of 14 Gopuras of Meenakshi Devi. So Meenakshi Devi is a consort of Lord Vishnu. So in this part of the Madurai, which is also known as Mathura Desh or Mathura Dham of South, here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is invited by a Brahmana called Ramdas Vipra, a great devout Brahmana devotee of Lord Ram. And after bathing in Kritamala river, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is arriving at this Ramdas Vipra's place for lunch prasadam. Now just imagine, if you are invited for lunch prasadam, you arrive at a right time, Dopahar, second prahar, around 12 o'clock. And to your surprise, there is no preparation being done. No activity in the kitchen, no vegetables cut, nothing, no activity. And Lord is surprised, and the time elapses. They are discussing wonderful Ram Katha, and then it's 3 pahar. It's almost 3 o'clock, and Lord Chaitanya is wondering what's happening. You have invited for me something, for lunch, and seems like you're not prepared at all. And he kind of humbly, inquires, and Brahmana responds, "Oh Mahaprabhu, you know the difficulties, right? We are in the thick, long jungle, and unless Lord Lakshmana brings all the vegetables, roots, and fruits, and Sita Maya will cut and make the preparations, how can I offer you anything to eat?" Anything to eat and jungle? Come on. Oh Brahmana, you are in the city of Madurai. It's a well-known city. Where is the question of jungle, right? And on top of it, you are waiting for Lakshmana to bring vegetables. So generally, in such situations, people like us might get frustrated, right? But Mahaprabhu, Krishna, Paramatma in everybody's heart, he understands the mood of this Brahmana. And immediately, although he's surprised and astonished, but he is not angry. He's not annoyed. He understands, just like great devotees like Kulashekar, Maharaj, who was always dwells in Lord's pastime, this Brahmana is completely Krishna conscious, or shall we say Ram conscious, because he has entered into the pastimes of Ramayana and he is living those pastimes. But sooner, to his surprise, after this, somehow they cook, the cooking is done. Seems like Lakshmana has brought and the ingredients are done, cooking is done. Mahaprabhu is honoring Prasadam, and he observes that Brahmana is constantly weeping and he's fasting. He's not honoring Prasadam. Lord is surprised and he says, "Oh dear Brahman, why don't you take? I've already taken." And Brahmana is sobbing. He has one question. He's still in that mood. He says, "Oh my dear Lord, I just cannot tolerate the thought of that mighty, vicious Ravana touching Mother Sita. How can he do that? Sita Maya is Jagan Mata. She is Mahalakshmi. How can a crooked person like Ravana can even touch my Mother Sita?" Oh, Lord Chaitanya is perplexed. And he immediately then quotes, this was explained in the previous verses. Ravana aiseti Sita antardhana kaila, Ravanera age maya Sita pathaila. He says, "Oh my dear Brahmana, where is the question of Ravana touching Mother Sita? Moment there is a sight of this Rakshasa, Mother Sita, original Mother Sita has disappeared. Sita antardhana kaila, Ravanera age maya Sita pathaila." So, original Sita is, she is disappeared, and what appears in front of Ravana is Maya Sita, illusory form of Sita, whom Ravana thinks that she is Sita and, begins to kidnap. And then he says this tattva. So, Lord Chaitanya, see, Chaitanya Charitamrita is all about pastimes and tattva. So, behind that, what is the tattva? He explains, अप्राकृत वस्तु नहे प्रकृत गोचर वेद पुराणे ते ऐ कहे निरंतर. He says aprakrita vastu, the spiritual substance is never nahe prakruta gochara. Its spiritual substance is never under the jurisdiction of material conception. This is the tattva, and this is the always nirantara. This is the always principle which is enumerated in Vedic encyclopedia. So that way he establishes this tattva, saying that actually, sometimes we wonder why Valmiki, sage Valmiki did not mention this in original Ramayana, this whole episode. And then Acharyas explain that, just to enhance the rasa and to give glories later on, this is explained by Lord Chaitanya, as we see in the next few verses. Lord Chaitanya explains, taking the support of Krishna, reference of Kurma Puran. So, this whole idea of spiritual substance cannot be untouched. Krishna is completely spiritual, Sat Chid Ananda Vigraha. And his Shakti, how it can be, touched by a material substance. And then Mahaprabhu explains this wonderful verse. "Oh my dear Brahmana, Have faith. Vishwasa karah tumi amara vachane. Please have faith in my words. Punarapi kubhavana na kariha mane. Please don't, carry those vengeance. Don't take any kubhavana. Don't get into speculation and, disturb yourself. Just believe. And that way then, Brahmana gets completely satisfied and he honors Prashadam and is very happy. So here Mahaprabhu is reassuring this Brahmana that have faith in my words and do not burden any longer with this misconception. Just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ma Shucha, after explaining the entire philosophy and giving the choice of doing the next step to Arjuna, he then reassures, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. If you do that, O Arjuna, you will be rest assured. This is assurance given by the Lord. So later on, as the verses progress, as we know, in summary we can discuss. In verses number 200, so right now we are in verse number 195, right? So as the verses progress, there is a group of verse from 200 to 217, where Lord Chaitanya has traveled to Setubandha. So Madura is in the north and about 150 miles from there towards the southern direction. In fact, it is the extreme south of India, where Lord Ram's bridge, the memorial, historical bridge was built. At that point of time, Setubandha, in the assembly of wonderful Brahmanas, Lord Chaitanya discusses Kurma Puran. And then in the Kurma Puran, this tattva is specifically mentioned, how Sita Maya, when she had the sight of Ravana, she took shelter of Agni Dev by the will of the Lord. And Agni Dev, in return, presented this Maya Sita, illusory form of Sita. And of course, we know that at the later episode, when there was a Agni Pariksha, when finally, Ravana is conquered and, killed, and Sita Maya is coming back to, reunite with her Lord Ram, she was given Agni Pariksha. And that behind the rahasya behind that Agni Pariksha is actually at that point of time, Agni Dev with lot of gratitude returned back original Sita and took back the illusory Sita. Of course, this episode is vividly mentioned in Kurma Puran. Lord Chaitanya is so happy. And then on the quest of Lord Chaitanya, these verses, original verses from Kurma Puran, which was written on those kadchas, they were reproduced. Of course, those times maybe the Xerox machine was not there, so they had to be rewritten on another, patras. And requesting Brahmanas, taking their permission, Lord Chaitanya then collects that original verses, supporting this tattva, and goes back where? Back to Madurai. Imagine those days, it's not like, just take a flight and go to some other place, We have Sadhu Sangha in Florida. Just take 1.5 hours or 1 hour flight and you are there. Almost 150 miles. And this is, Karuna of Lord Chaitanya, the supremely merciful Lord. He takes all the pains to walk back just to hand over, to strengthen the faith of this Brahmana, to hand over this, original manuscripts of Kurma Puran. So he goes back to meet the same Brahmana. And when Brahmana realizes, this is also supported by Shastra, he is so much delighted. In fact, this whole episode, as we hear, this is a wonderful episode of what we call, here the trilogy of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Always we have the faith based on this trilogy, what our spiritual master says, what is being elaborated by Guru Parampara, and what Shastra says. If they three match, then we are at the right place. We are at the lotus feet of His divine grace. So ultimately, at the end of this episode, this Brahmana who was on the verge of suicide because of this trauma, being disturbed by how Sita Maya can be touched. He's completely, now oblivious to that agony, and he's most happy. And this is something we learn from this entire episode, that if you take shelter of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra always, this is the secret of being happy and blissful in this, while we are in this material world of Tritap. So this was the story part of it. We could little dwell in this learnings of this wonderful story and amazing purport. So one such learning is the essence of faith in spiritual life is, as Mahaprabhu says, Vishwasa karaha tumi amara vachana. How do I put faith? So essence of the faith is in spiritual life is Shraddha. And this Shraddha in bhakti process, devotional service, the firm conviction of serving the Supreme Lord, all other duties are automatically fulfilled. This is the starting point. As we observe in Bhagavad Gita, the whole turning point, the other day we were discussing in Bhagavad Gita, although Arjuna was perplexed in the beginning, he was a Kshatriya warrior, a hero of the whole battle, but the turning point comes on that battlefield when Arjuna realizes his position from a sakha, from a friend to a shishya, a disciple. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti tite jnanam jnaninas tattva darshina. So in this 4th chapter, 34th verse, Lord explains the secret of Arjuna's success of hearing Bhagavad Gita and prompting the Lord to inaugurate, entire Bhagavad Gita for rest of the mankind. So Krishna is saying, just try to learn the truth by approaching spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, render service unto him. 3 things. Approaching the spiritual master for the truth, Guru, inquire submissively, which is, out of humility, and render service. So these 3 things are done, then the self-realized souls can impart knowledge because they have seen the truth. So approaching a bona fide spiritual master with all humility and service, as yesterday we were hearing from His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj's lecture in the morning, Krishna has to be in the focal point. If we do that with all humility and simply go on serving as per the instructions of spiritual master, then we are the right recipients of transcendental knowledge. So the first learning from this verse is, what Prabhupada teaches us is, faith in Guru's words is essential for spiritual development, advancement. And we see so many examples also, like Dhruva Maharaj, although he was perplexed and he was enamored with the material desire of being the supreme most king, because he got such episode being neglected by his father who was a king, Uttanapad. What he did was to simply put faith in spiritual master Narada Muni. And his determination to follow Narada Muni's words and his determination to achieve devotion of the Lord actually attracted Narada Muni's attention. And rest is history, how we see that just 5-6 years old Dhruva Maharaj, ultimately by just following the words of spiritual master, he could get audience of Lord himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we see here the living example, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Despite of so many numerous challenge, it's so easy, for Srila Prabhupada, if you see the biography, for us devotees who are practicing devotees, it's a dream come true. You are living in Vrindavan Dham, in the midst of all devotees, Rupa Goswami Samadhi Mandir in your vicinity. All you are doing is entire day reading and absorbing yourself in Srimad Bhagavatam. What else a devotee can dream for? And His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada exactly had that situation at his disposal. He could have continued forever until his rest of his life just dwelling into the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. But he had his Guru's words and he had faith in his Guru's words. Hence, despite of all the challenges across health, financial constraints, his unwavering faith in his Guru's words, his master's instructions, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's instructions, made him to lead this, revolution across the globe to spread, movement of Krishna consciousness. So this is first, having faith in Guru's words. Second, the second part of the verse which says, Punarapi ku bhavana na kariha mane. Having faith is still easier because, by mercy of Srila Prabhupada and all the wonderful senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada, we have so much available literature available at our disposal, that even a 5-year-old girl or a boy, she or he understands the entire truth, sublime truth. That faith has already begun. But the second part, are we really trained? Have we trained our consciousness to avoid mental speculation? Punarapi ku bhavana na kariha mane. So, Lord Chaitanya is advising this Brahmana that, my dear Brahmana, I'm warning you, the pitfalls of being over-intellectual. You are thinking, and in your mind you are doing some mental speculation, and hence, Shri Radha Kalachandra Ji Bhagwan ki jai, Shri Radha Govinda Bhagwan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So in Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 4th chapter, 31st verse purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions this wonderful verse, which is very similar. Tarko pratishta shrutayo vibhinna nashva rishiryasya matam na bhinnam. He's saying, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that these dry arguments and mental speculation will lead nowhere. The scriptures may differ within themselves, but if we simply try and understand the scriptures from our own, charma chakshu, not jnana chakshu, and simply dwell into this, mental, over-intellectual, mental concoctions, that it is a waste of time. And we will end nowhere. It will only lead to confusion. So relying on debate and logic, without devotional service only leads to confusion. True understanding will only come from submissive hearing and service to his Lord's devotees. So here Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport, this is the process of spiritual understanding. Achintya khalu ye bhava na tam starke na yojayet. We should not try to understand things beyond our material conceptions by argument and counter-argument. It is waste of time. We see in the history, Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, Uddhava actually was sent as a messenger to gopis. And Uddhava was thinking, observing the very simple devotion of gopis, he was trying to, elaborate and probably educate gopis what is the position of Lord Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, creator of all creators. And the gopis, when they heard him, their problem was, yeah, what you are saying is right. Oh my dear Uddhava, we are also trying to get rid of Krishna as much. 24 hours, the only effort for us is to get rid of this, crooked Krishna who has, been separated from us. And we are not able to do that. Uddhava was about to faint looking at the bhava of gopis. How exalted and sublime is the mood of gopis. And then, of course, he surrenders. So mental speculation or dry intellectual knowledge would not help us unless you serve. And then Uddhava takes this wonderful position of, Gulmalata grass to serve the gopis so that he gets, this actual realization of the transcendental knowledge. So, in theory, in these verses, these two principles are mentioned. Having faith in Guru's words and not dwelling into mental concoction or mental speculation. The golden question is, as practicing devotees, how do we do that? What are those practical steps which we can take so that we are able to actually practice these two principles which have been elaborated by Lord Chaitanya? So how do we do that? So Prabhupada ji again mentions the secret in the purport. Simply says, Mahajano yena gathasta panta. Simply follow the path where the senior devotees have followed. We have to just follow the footsteps of great authorities coming down in parampara system. If we approach a bona fide acharya and keep faith in his words, spiritual realization will be easy. In our company, there was a motto called Jo Saral, Wo Safal. If with very simple heart, we just accept Guru's instructions in coming in bona fide parampara, in conjunction with Shastras, that's it. Our life is successful. Jo Saral, Wo Safal. So this entire episode, as we mentioned, is, the evidence of this trilogy of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. And we are so safe. As long as we are in the, boundaries of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, a bona fide parampara of saints, and our spiritual master who is coming into that parampara, following his footsteps in conjunction with Shastras. We are always blissful, just like that Brahmana. So, we would like to conclude here the 3 points which this Jai Shri Shri Kalachandra Ji Bhagwan ki Jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So, in conclusion, we can dwell upon these 3 learnings. One, the essence of spiritual life, our entire, adhyatmic, things which we do day-to-day basis, our sadhana, our seva crux is faith in Guru's words. And then we have to be also very, very careful to avoid mental speculation. So on practical terms, I was just wondering, how do we do that on practical terms? It's all nice to hear that, yes, oh Guru Maharaj, I should have faith. But no matter how many lectures we hear, as soon as we turn our back out of temple hall, out of Bhagavatam, and all these, Shadripus are attacking us, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Matsarya, and we are again in the midst of, all those sense gratificatory things, we tend to forget. And that faith wavers. And also mental speculation, because nowadays, media has made us the so-called scriptural knowledge so accessible that we often end up into window shopping, right? Whatever YouTube video, whichever lecture, whoever speaks very, eruditely, we just tend to hear. And we only tend to pick up nectar drops, so-called nectar drops. But sometimes such tendency to go out of the realm of Srila Prabhupada books. Ultimately, we have Srila Prabhupada's books, Sri Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. At least for me, I haven't finished the whole thing. So what should be the reason for me to go beyond this, so-called sandarbhas and gostis and acharyas, commentaries, this philosophy, this sampradaya, compare and then do speculation. All whatever has to be taught in our limited life, and all whatever has to be learnt by us to be able to successful in our mission of our life, which is serve the spiritual master, serve the Lord, and go back to Godhead at the end of the life, is there in Srila Prabhupada's divine purports. So what is the need of going beyond? So when I ask myself a question, how do I really practice these 2 principles? How do I put faith and strengthen and sustain faith in Guru's words and be careful to avoid mental conception, mental speculation is stick to Srila Prabhupada books. That's it. And, just to support that, recently we were hearing sometime back, Gaurang Prabhu's wonderful sessions on Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was mentioning, in fact, today it's like 18th of May, right? Exactly about 410 years, a day before, 17th May of 1615, 16th century I'm talking about, Chaitanya Charitamrita was completed by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. So, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, just imagine what is the span and depth and width of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami knowing very well that in future, in our generations, definitely we have such media access that we are going to get dissuaded and distracted by so many philosophies, so many acharyas, so many commentaries, and we might, fall away from Srila Prabhupada's divine nectar that he has quoted in only Chaitanya Charitamrita from 90 different scriptures. What else can we expect? If you go through the wonderful, 11,000 whatever number of verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has been able to quote 90 different verses, out of which almost 400 plus verses are quoted from only Srimad Bhagavatam. 62 chapters full of 11,555 verses, where 97 Sanskrit verses are originally compiled by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Such is the intellectual prowess. And the same Chaitanya Charitamrita is now being offered to us by, unlimited compassion of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada in 27 different languages, in English language, which we can easily understand. Such is the fortune we can count upon. And talking about Srila Prabhupada's books themselves, he has obviously translated these wonderful verses, the philosophy of life, how to live and how to live, in 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. Gaurang Prabhu was mentioning, even if we try and learn and read one verse and one purport a day, it's going to take 2 years of our life. Such is the vast expanse. He has translated at least, we can say, up to 10,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto. It is going to take, even if we take one verse, one purport a day, it's going to consume 50 years of our life. 50 plus 2, 52, if you live up to that. And then comes this PhD study, 17 volumes of 11,555 verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita. If we attempt to read one verse, one purport a day, maybe 10-15 minutes, it's going to take another 31.6 years. Keep counting. It's almost 83 years. Are we going to live until then? So much is there, and on top of it you have teachings of Lord Chaitanya, teachings of Kapila Dev, Ishopanishad, Back to Godhead magazines, 70 odd small books based on these wonderful scriptures. And on top of it, cherry on the top, you have 22,000 pages which Prabhupada dictated on dictaphone while he is brushing his teeth, while he is walking on morning walks, while he is bathing, while he is roaming around. He's constantly, we have seen that video, right? Your ever well-wisher. Until the last breath, Prabhupada is on dictaphone. And, I was told that I haven't ventured into those. Those 22,000 pages are now published in 147 volumes of books. So, and of course, if you again attempt to read one page, it's going to take another 13 years. So 100 years are totally utilized. And God knows, how far we are going to live. So, crux of the matter is, there is enough, everything and anything which has to be known. Srila Prabhupada, by his divine intervention in our lives, he has given the essence. He has pure shastron ka nichod. He has given the thick essence, and it is available in his divine purports. So where is the question of going outside? Neither we have time, nor we have energy, nor we have efficiency, nor there is a will. Simply take shelter of Srila Prabhupada books and our life will be sublime. And that faith which Lord Chaitanya has mentioned, to keep faith in Guru's words and not be distracted by any mental speculation, can be easily achieved. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So to conclude, Lord Chaitanya's this wonderful counsel to this Brahmana serves as a timeless reminder of the power of faith in spiritual life. And by trusting the words of spiritual master, word by word, sometimes we tell our Guru Maharaj, oh dear Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, give us some personal instruction. And Maharaj says, all my instructions are in, Srila Prabhupada purports and the lectures. So every word we hear, in the lecture, whether it's Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita or CC, we hear attentively and absorb in our hearts. Every word we read from Srila Prabhupada purports, we try and imbibe those and walk on that path. So let us pray at this wonderful verse with this wonderful message at the lotus feet of Sri Radha Kalachandji and His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, and all his wonderful senior disciples. Let's offer our prayers so that we can, imbibe the understanding of this verse. Let us all pray to strive to cultivate such faith, drawing inspiration from both scriptural narratives and contemporary living examples like Srila Prabhupada and all these wonderful acharyas, so that our hearts remain always anchored firmly in the devotion amidst the challenges of this modern world. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. I know if you have 3 minutes, if anybody would like to share their realizations or comments, or maybe one question. Yes, Prabhuji, please. Yes. So as Prabhuji mentioned, as we hear the 9 steps of devotional progress, it all begins from Adho Shraddha and then immediately Sadhu Sangha. So as I've heard from seniors, this Adho Shraddha is not the thick Shraddha. It's a small, minute faith. Just like when we enter into a plane, we don't go and ask the pilot, show me your license, only then I have the faith in you so that you will fly me safely. Or enter into a cab asking the driver of his credentials. So we begin, every act we do in material life, we begin with small faith. So yes, small faith is definitely the beginning. That's something, the baby step. And along with that, Adho Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha. So this wonderful combination of Adho Shraddha, having little faith, it's not a big demand. The kind of faith you put on outside world, in every activity we do. We have faith in teachers, we have faith in drivers, we have faith in pilot, we have faith in everybody who is providing services. Similarly, we start with a small faith, with a disclaimer that, okay, I'm starting my process, but nevertheless, I don't know whether I'll be able to continue. It's okay, but at least I start. So have the small faith, with small faith, minute faith, we approach the transcendental books of Srila Prabhupada, transcendental teachings of Vaishnavas, and transcendental dealings. But that faith can be fructified by Sadhu Sangha. Hence, Adho Shraddha and Sadhu Sangha are next to each other. So my limited understanding, Prabhuji, is in order to deepen our Shraddha, even before we start making our Shraddha strong, Sadhu Sangha, associating with like-minded people and those devotees who have dedicated their lives for the mission, taking their association is a vital step in strengthening our Shraddha. And many a times association is not limited to physical proximity. Sometimes we are part of the Sunday feast, we are part of the sevas, we do together, we travel together, we meet together, all the devotees, we are always in the midst of devotees, we live in devotee community. Yeah, that's all fine. But association, that's all good. But association also is about affinity of mind. Proximity, physical proximity and affinity of mind. Both have to go together. How much heart we pour in the association of devotees, how much we are eager to learn from the devotees. Whoever is the devotee, a simple lady who is making garlands, look at the dedication. We've had one Mataji who was recently recognized. She did garland seva for 27 years and she's happy doing that for rest of her life. We see pujaris, in the story of Pujari from Mayapur. His entire world is the altar. He has never stepped out of Chandrodaya Mandir. So when we look at such devotees and we accept something which is favorable, which is inspiring for our life, and we sincerely try and imbibe on those footsteps, and likewise we only pick up nectar in the association of devotees, our Shraddha also deepens. And then you can Adho Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, then Bhajan Kriya begins. And that faith will, once again, it's a recyclic. Faith is not a static step that you start faith and then you are entering into Sadhu Sangha. It's a continuous process. So as you go into Sadhu Sangha more, as you deepen yourself into Bhajan Kriya, your faith again increases and then it thickens and takes you to the subsequent steps of devotional service. I don't know whether that helps. Prabhuji, kindly you can add.
No, this is very helpful. I think my question was more around, say, when we are in the preaching situation and we are meeting with people who is large part of the audience is, say, atheist or someone, even from the people who are from the Indian background, for example, they have lost faith.
Right.
And so to redevelop, you cannot just say that, okay, have faith, I have little faith. It doesn't work with that community, especially people who are in very logical thinking these days, right?
Right.
Everybody wants, what is in it for? Is it solving my problem that I can see? Not old age, disease and death.
Right.
It just, it's much far when I'm talking about outside temple, when you go into the city.
Right. Right.
Nobody cares about old age, disease and death. Is my immediate problem getting solved? And that is where somehow we have to bring that initial message,
Right.
which many times I struggle that, okay, how do I generate that interest? That, okay, let's at least read Bhagavad Gita.
Right.
And that part of the faith is what I was kind of, saying that
From a
how-
preaching perspective, yeah,
Yes.
that's a valid point. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, Bhakta Pada Duli, Bhakta Pada Jal, Bhakta Bhukta Avashesh, 18 Mahabal. So Srila Prabhupada so wonderfully has given these weapons, to penetrate, preaching effort. Even if they are not inclined, they are not interested, they are least interested, they are not even looking at you. But just offer prasadam, that one touch with divine, makes a beginning. If we ask devotees, this standard question, Prabhu, how you came to Krishna consciousness? What are the typical answers? Either I get a book on the street, I touch that book, I open the book, and I was inquisitive, or I was hungry, I got prasadam, and then I was, inclined more to have prasadam, or, I happened to come into the temple and, have divine charanamrut, darshan of the Lord, and I was attracted. So all we have to do is to imbibe that faith is to put a hook. That's all we can do. Rest is done by Srila Prabhupada and Parampara. Our role is to provide a hook. That hook could be in the form of prasadam, or in the form of a book, or in the form of invitation, or, as they say, preach through your behavior. Especially the places where, we go to offices, you can't be in a dhoti kurta, tilak, and, you can't be so expressive sometimes because of the culture which is prevalent in those organizations. But the kind of demeanor a devotee does, the behavior, people are, I've seen devotees, even in their professions, whether Matajis or Prabhujis, they have such magnetic, attraction. People generally get attracted to them, not because they are devotees, not because they are spiritual forms, but they, by virtue of being devotees, they imbibe those divine qualities, which can be leveraged in your day-to-day activities also. So, preach through behavior, through act, so that people are, somebody should come to you and say, my dear sir, you are so wonderful, you are so helpful, you are so humble, you are so sharp in your duties, you are so sincere. What is the secret? And then we say, oh, come on, I'll tell you the secret. Let's go to the temple, let's go to, other devotees. So all we have to do is to provide that hook, through these weapons which Srila Prabhupada has given, and also try and act upon our own life, so that people, rather than by my words, they are attracted by my actions. So that's my effort. So, Prabhuji, I'm sorry, I have a very limited understanding, and I, attempt to speak beyond my realizations. But it is only for my own purification I take this opportunity. So, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Do we have time? I'm okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So my question, when you were saying about that today we have lot of lectures and lot of things we are kind of listening, and we are going away from reading Srila Prabhupada's books. That's actually very practical, which people like me, neophytes like me, we are suffering from. So when we hear that when Prabhupada came by his book, he made lot of devotees in these foreign countries. Like those time, like how were those times? Like people were more into book reading, or that's how they got into Krishna consciousness, or it was Prabhupada's miracle? Like, because when I see that we understand, we have faith, we come to the temple, we serve, we have all the, we get devotee association, so many things we are doing. But that book which changed people's life, we also like have classes, no specific classes, people like in a systematic way, they are teaching us. But then when it comes, I have my books there, all the books keeping there, but I don't even touch it I don't feel like going and touching and reading it, opening it. But I do all the, I understand, I hear lectures, I hear YouTube whole day, I keep on doing that. So what is the distraction? Why I'm not able to do why I'm not able to put effort to do the most valuable thing I should be doing? What is the problem?
This is something which I'm also being challenged. So I'm not sure whether I'll be able to give you the right answer. But the challenge of, not touching the books, reading the books, and rather getting enamored by all the wonderful lectures going around, right? So that's a challenge, yes. And hence, Srila Prabhupada in our daily schedule, by default, by design, has put, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. This Bhagavatam class, daily class, is exactly for the same task, At least devote those 40-45 valuable minutes to hear directly from Srila Prabhupada's purports, read them together in the association of devotees, and dwell upon them, elaborate, add your realizations, practical examples, and digest it, and then you are ready for rest of the day. So I think this is a very simple formula, and as I said, simple for the simple, complicated for complicated. So sometimes, when things are very easily coming to us, we take them for granted. So I feel that it is one of those things, because the most sublime truth, the essence of all scriptures, is so easily available. You just click and the entire encyclopedia in front of you, Kindle, open the book, and it's always there, probably as it is, lying in our cupboards. We take it for granted. And that's a tendency coming from our past, conditionings of material life. With things which are easily accessible are always taken for granted. So I think practical answer to this is, what I've heard from my Guru Maharaj is, we always, whenever we hear or, find something which is valuable in spiritual life, we practice a method of gratitude. If we are grateful enough to what we have received, then we value those things. So similarly, when we hear lectures, it's not kind of wrong to go to YouTube and hear lectures. That's all good. But as they say, your first duty which you have taken vow to Guru Maharaj is, I'll chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Now, if you do that and top of it, while you're cooking, while you're singing, while you're, not traveling, or while you're doing other things, you are chanting, that's fine. Nothing wrong. In fact, we have to do Nirantar chanting, but that's a bonus. The main thing is staple food, which is 16 rounds. Analogy from that is, reading from Srila Prabhupada books is our staple food. Through Bhagavatam class or on your own endeavor. And then on top of it, whatever you do is extra bonus. So if I keep that rule in my life, that okay, I'll do my staple food, rice and dal, and on top of it I can add paneer, achar and whatever. That's additional bonus. But my rice and dal and roti is something which has to go in my diet. That's it. So that's something we learn from, Sadhu Sangha, association of devotees. And when we see, so in my initial years, we had one Prabhuji in Pune, Jainar Singh Prabhu. So we used to go in Yatra, and Kartik Yatras used to be the most hectic time. But this Prabhuji, despite of hearing 7-8 hours of katha of Guru Maharaj, and dancing, and you're totally tired, your body is, you're about to fall on the bed. When you're dead of the night, 11 o'clock you reach. This Prabhuji, with his eyes, somehow he would open his drawer, open his small set of Srimad Bhagavatam. That small set used to come, and he'll open, and he'll read one verse, one purport, and then he doze off. And that he would do it for entire life, day in, day out. So such devotees, if we associate with, we also get encouragement and determination to Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So if you are enthusiastic enough, never leave Bhagavatam. If you are not enthusiastic, take association of those who are enthusiastic. That's the only mantra which we can prescribe. And stick to the basics. And anything additional, welcome, once I have done my basics. Once I have done my 16 rounds, I can do kirtans, I can chant, I can do whatever I want, in terms of more chanting. Similarly, reading. Does that work? Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So we will end here. Thank you so much. I express my gratitude. I never felt anything different in Radha Kalachandji Dham, what I felt, in Pune or Hinjewadi. Such wonderful devotees, full of enthusiasm, such service attitude. I can only carry, bag full of, I've got some empty bags. So we are going to take all the enthusiasm full, pack and, take back to the devotees in Pune. So thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to share something, worthwhile in your association. Hare Krishna, Jagat Guru, Srila Prabhupada ki.